Chris Mannix is here. We'll reintroduce when the radio audience returns. We're just comparing new drops. You got the one from Dumb and Dumber? So you got that one, fella? You got that one on?
Hey, guys. Oh, big gulps, huh? All right. Well, see you later.
Okay. Now play our new drop. You got that one?
Well, congratulations.
There you go.
I mean, they're comparable.
That's pretty close. Pretty close.
Hey.
They're both awkward.
200, you scored the most points, huh? Well,
Cool.
Well, see you later.
That would have made it even better.
We can combine them too. You scored the most points.
Oh, see you later.
Well, see you later.
It's an all-timer.
And he's such a. I love that man. I love Silver. He is. He's a sweetheart.
And he very rarely.
So earnest.
He very rarely says something, or he always toes the line, right? He never wants to embarrass anybody.
Of course not.
But he felt embarrassed in that moment, in part because, look, there were conversations with the players about this. He felt there was an agreement amongst gentlemen that they would try, and then they go out and do the exact opposite, put up the most points in NBA All-Star history. So I can understand Adam feeling a little bit burned.
Certainly, since, I mean, the thing that I think the NBA touts so well is the partnership between management and the players, you know? And that's what they're like, hey, you know, we're kind of asking you for this one. And 218 points later.
And you heard Anthony Edwards after the game saying, yeah, I was never going to try. Like, there were some guys just saying.
Too. Did you hear that too? Did you?
Yeah,
hear
I'm
that?
going to play left-handed and then just not care. Like, what?
Wow.
He made it clear from jump that he, like Saturday when he played in the skills competition.
We got our radio audience back here together with our Roku audience on the Rich Eisen Show radio network. I'm sitting at the Rich Eisen Show desk furnished by Granger with supplies and solutions for every industry. Granger is the right product for you. Call clickgranger.com or just stop by. Chris Mannix from Sports Illustrated and DAZN is here. So what does the NBA do today? Like, what do you think is happening in the league offices as they get back to New York City?
I think there's just a lot of venting going on right now. There may be some calls placed between league officials and Players Association officials about what happened, because beyond Adam Silver wanting this to be a competitive game, he felt there was a mutual understanding with the players that they were not going to just turn it into, you know, a glorified pickup game, that they were going to attempt to play competitively, and that didn't happen. So I think there's probably some phone calls being made. As far as fixing it goes, I don't think there is a fix, Rich.
There isn't.
There isn't, because the NBA's tried everything over the last decade or so. They have tried mixing rosters up so it's not East versus West. They have tried naming captains and having kind of a snake draft. They have tried financially incentivizing things for the winners. They've tried everything in the book.
The fixed score at the end of the game to make
score,
it competitive.
The Elam ending,
Right.
all the things, all the tricks they could possibly pull, and nothing has worked. They go back to the traditional format this year, and it's worse than ever before. Now, I've seen some suggestions that because of the proliferation of talent globally, you could do USA versus the world, which on paper makes some sense. But if you watch back that All-Star game, the two most indifferent guys to the outcome were Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic. Luka Doncic, who went for a 2-for-1 by shooting a 75-footer in the first half, and Nikola Jokic, who looked like he wanted to be anywhere but there for every minute he was in that game. So while I get the theory that USA versus the world could be competitive, I don't believe when you put guys like that out there on the floor it would be.
So then also the issue with that would be you'd have to have an equal number of such players voted in. I mean, there's such a conversation about who's snubbed and who isn't and who is a starter and who is not. You'd have to make sure that there's an all-star roster for domestic and then international.
I think there is, though. I think you can, like, look, there would undoubtedly be one or two guys on either side that would ordinarily get in if it was a normal competition.
Sure.
But look, I don't think the players would have a leg to stand on here, because the NBA wouldn't be doing this if they put forth more of an effort when the game is actually being played. The NBA wants to see a competitive game, and this might be the last lever that they could pull. But people out there that are that believe the NBA should just do away with it. It's not going to happen, because when the ratings come out, and these ratings are probably going to be conflated a little bit or inflated, I should say, a little bit, because on Saturday they said there were 10 million unique viewers that watched All-Star Saturday night. We're probably going to see a comparable number that watched the All-Star game, but it's still going to be a big number. Bigger than most, if not every, regular season game the NBA's ever played. As long as that many people are watching it, the NBA is never going to do away with it.
But what if the conversation is as negative as it is today? I mean, that you don't want to have your show. Listen, you don't want to have your showcase All-Star game have an in-arena feel to it like it's a 40-point blowout. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to hear just the I guess, drumbeat of the music that's being played in the arena over, a disinterested group of young fans who are trying to see something, like that. You feel it through the television set.
Look, I agree. Now, look, I think there should be, they should spend the next 11 months figuring out a way to restructure the entire weekend. I mean, one of the things that made Sunday a lot worse was that in most All-Star games, it's goofy for 3.5 quarters. But most of them, you get a competitive 2 or 3 minute stretch at the end where these guys decide they want to win. You didn't get that on Sunday because it was a 20-point game in the fourth quarter. So they missed out on that. But the entire All-Star weekend, in my opinion, needs to be completely mothballed and changed entirely. The dunk contest needs to go. I mean, due respect to Mac McClung, he's won 2 dunk contests and played 4 NBA games. That should not be who is winning the dunk contest year after year. And if you can't get all-stars to compete, which you can't, I think they need to do away with it and do something else. The skills competition, while a good idea at the beginning, has become goofy. Anthony Edwards playing with his left hand entirely made a mockery of it. There's no need to continue on with that. They need to find new features for this. And I think the Sabrina versus Steph was amazing and is something that can not only be duplicated, but they can build on in the future. Like, look, let's do Sabrina Steph 2 at the WNBA All-Star Game. And then next year, let's say Caitlin Cooper is in the WNBA next year, which I guess is possible. You put Caitlin Cooper and Sabrina against Steph and Damian Lillard in the Bay Area for All-Star Weekend. Everybody's going to want to watch that because of how Sabrina performed and how great we know Caitlin Cooper is. The NBA found something there. They need to find more things like that to make Saturday matter.
Well, I mean, Caitlin Clark being as dynamite as she is and as a figure that everybody is so fascinated with and by, and the ascension of the women's college world, I think now adds more of an interest level. And as a girl dad, and I'll say this, my 10-year-old made her all-star team. She's got some handle. I've never really said this about my daughter before, but
2034
Let me tell you, man.
But
my household is all into this right now, and that was the one event of the weekend, entire weekend, that we were in the house saying, when is it on? Was Sabrina versus Steph. And so I'm with you on that. In terms of the game, look, the NFL just said, we're done with this. We are not playing the game anymore, because they did, the Pro Bowl used to be one of those games where, and you talk to all the guys who played in those Pro Bowls in Hawaii, they did the math in their head about how expensive it was for their family to be over in Hawaii. They did the math between winning and losing the game. And the fourth quarter, they're like, we're not walking out of here without that winner's check. And the game actually broke out in the fourth quarter. I mean, most famous, I think, guys, we can all agree, Pro Bowl moment was Sean Taylor blowing somebody up, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and that's the thing that people talk about. But obviously, they would never have played the Pro Bowl in the middle of an NFL season. We're playing this physical game, or we're saying get more physical with each other in an era of load management and figuring this out and figuring that out. LeBron only played a portion of the game because he's nursing an injury, he's saying. So I don't know what the answer is, other than maybe, let me just throw this one at you, and then we can move on to the rest of the NBA world here. That what about polling players? The league gets together with the Players Association. Who is all-star quality that would be willing to play a competitive basketball game. You know there's a ton of players in that, level of 20 to 40 in the league who are popular, really, really good, would give their left to be an all-star and say, if you make this game, you're playing, and you speak to the teams, you speak to the coaching staffs, they're playing 20, 30 minutes. Like this is going to be a real NBA game with a rotation and everything. And you make this commitment that you're going to go all out. And they're, let's put it this way, more willing to listen to somebody like Joe Dumars than the guys who got voted in. What do you think about that idea?
I don't think it would work.
Okay. I don't know. I'm grasping here.
Mostly because I don't think the Players Association would ever go for it. I mean, guys all want to be all-stars. In some cases, there are financial incentives to being all-stars in their contracts. They're not going to go for a scenario that sees, I'm trying to think of like a sixth or seventh man that would love, or a third or fourth best guy on the roster that, an Austin Reeves being in the All-Star game. Like these guys want to be all-stars. They just don't want to compete in an All-Star game. And getting that to change is a Herculean task I think is impossible for the NBA to do. One of the problems that they have is that in the last, let's say 15 years, the three-point shot's undergone an evolution, right? It went from teams shooting 10 to 15 three-point shots per game to 40, 50, sometimes 60 or more three-point shots per game. That bleeds into the All-Star game. I mean, getting guys to defend post-ups is one thing. Getting them to defend beyond the three-point line in a regular game is hard to do. Getting them to do it in an All-Star game is impossible. So if you're going to have Steph Curry and Damian Lillard and all these great shooters pulling up from 25 feet away, it's impossible to get NBA All-Stars to go out there and defend that at a high level.
Which is why I think the three-point contest is the most enduring aspect of the weekend.
Three-point contest is great. The new Steph versus Sabrina contest is great. My recommendation for the NBA for, skills competition, dunk contest, put it on shelf for a while, maybe forever. How about a one-on-one tournament? Like, one thing players love is being known as the best one-on-one player in the league. The NBA is an isolation game, right? They all love to go one-on-one against each other. It's a badge of honor if you're a great one-on-one player. I think you could lure top-tier guys into a one-on-one tournament. Not all of them, but you could get Kevin Durant in a one-on-one tournament. You can get probably Lillard in a one-on-one tournament, Giannis in a one-on-one tournament. Find a format that works and have these guys play one-on-one and have them crown. You remember the game King of the Court? That was always a game I loved playing growing up. Have the winner crowned the King of the Court. I think that would be a nice addition to next year's game.
I mean, didn't Luka hit one off of the scoreboard hanging over the arena in sort of a pig moment, in a horse moment? Didn't he bounce one and it went into? Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
But I want to see guys compete, and I think going one-on-one will make them compete, or at least some of them that get into that. They're not going to want to get embarrassed in a game of one-on-one.
Let's get into LeBron here. I've got Chris Mannix of Sports Illustrated here on the Rich Eisen Show. So LeBron, I believe, flew in day of game, right? And then held a press conference. He just basically got it all out of the way in one day, is what it sounds like.
All-Star day.
All-Star day for LeBron. He had this to say about his Laker future, or his end of career path, in his press conference.
Very happy being a Laker the last 6 years, and hopefully it stays that way. But I don't have the answer to how long it is, or which uniform I'll be in. Hopefully it is with the Lakers. It's a great organization and so many greats, but we'll see. I don't know how it's going to end, but it's coming.
So you want to interpret that for me? What do you got?
I want to be a Laker if the Lakers do the things that make me happy.
What are those?
Make the right deals that upgrade the roster around me and Anthony Davis that put us in championship contention every single year. There's no doubt he was disappointed by the Lakers' decision to stand pat at the deadline. This is not a championship team. It might not even be a team that escapes the play-in. I know they're playing good basketball right now, But a lot of that good basketball is predicated on the play of D'Angelo Russell, who has been outstanding for the last couple of months. Can that continue over the next 2 months and into the playoffs? We've seen a mixed bag of results from D'Angelo Russell in the past. What LeBron is looking for, if you want to fast forward to this offseason, is for the Lakers to go big. The Lakers can trade as many as 3 first-round picks this summer. They've got some contracts they can move, particularly Russell, Rui Hachimura, movable contracts. They can go out there and get another star. They swung and missed at a guy like DeJounte Murray. They'd like to take a swing at Trae Young, I know, this summer. That, to me, is going to be what LeBron wants to see happen right around draft night. He doesn't have to, he's got an opt-in for that $50+ million contract for next year. I think LeBron wants to see results before draft night, before making any decisions as to how to opt in.
Why wouldn't that be something the Lakers would be into as well? I mean, don't you think LeBron finishing with the Lakers and having, even though he says he's 50-50 on a farewell tour,
I could probably see a farewell tour.
There's going to be a farewell tour before the farewell tour.
Oh, look, it's not. Kobe had a farewell tour. I mean, a lot of guys have farewell tours.
But what I'm saying is that this dovetails into what the Lakers normally love, which is we are the franchise with all the trophies and the most famous players and the best players of all time. Certainly, they love a ceremony. Okay, they're great at ceremonies. And so why wouldn't they go ahead and do all of what LeBron would want to have? It kind of dovetails in what their brand is.
It does. And look, they made a commitment to Anthony Davis early in the season, giving him a 3-year contract extension. So they are pretty locked in on this group. The problem with making a deal in February, because they were limited to 1 first-round pick they could deal.
Yeah.
If they were going to make a big swing at, say, someone like DeJounte Murray, they would have had to include Austin Reeves, and they didn't want to do that. Now, with 3 first-round picks to deal this offseason, they don't have to include an Austin Reeves. So you can have LeBron, Reeves, Anthony Davis, and maybe a Trae Young in that mix, which not only solves the problem of satisfying LeBron now, but it also transitions beyond him. Trae Young's in his 20s, Anthony Davis in his early 30s. Like, whenever LeBron is done, you can still build a championship level team around Anthony Davis, who's having an outstanding season, and Trae Young, who has been an outstanding player for the last few seasons. So that type of deal makes a lot of sense for LA.
And so again, so I guess my question is why does LeBron need to be cryptic with?
I didn't view that as cryptic. I mean, he's been more cryptic, right? Like
no, I know it with the hourglass and everything like that.
Yeah.
I guess cryptic is the wrong word then. But him saying, I don't know, I mean...
Well, look, if the Lakers decide...
Why wouldn't that's the point. It's like, with the Clippers opening their new arena, why wouldn't they want to just put their marker down and say, this is a Laker town, everybody. Let's forget that new spot down
I think that's what they're going to do. I think that's what they're going to do. Look, LeBron's not going to sit there All-Star Weekend and say, I'm a Laker for life. Like, I'm opting into my contract.
Got it.
Somebody already asked him a couple of weeks back if he had any idea what in New York, if he knew what he was going to do next summer. He said, no, look, he's trying to keep his options open, and he's trying to exert maximum effort on the Lakers. If you follow LeBron's career, this is what he has done every step of the way. Cleveland, Miami, Cleveland again, and now in Los Angeles. Used his contract status to exert as much leverage as possible. It's a smart move if you want to make sure your team is investing and reinvesting every single year. I'll say one more thing about LeBron, though. Like, that farewell tour, I don't see it happening anytime soon. Like, this guy is still an all NBA level talent, and he still really seems to enjoy the game. He's got 2 young sons that have NBA potential. You know, his eldest is at USC right now. Bryce is in high school. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. That's just me speculating. For LeBron to kind of sit back and say, you know what, let's see if Bryce can make the NBA, and let's wait that out. As long as he's healthy, playing at this level, and enjoying himself, which he seems to be doing, there's no reason for him to walk away. So I think we're talking early 40s, maybe even mid 40s before LeBron hangs him up.
Like a Tom Brady situation?
Why not? If you're still playing at that level and you're still competitive and you're in a city and an organization that you enjoy, why walk away?
And especially if you can put even more insane distance between you and the rest of anybody else that would come for his records, that he's going to have every record. And then in his All-Star day, he also stopped by the Inside the NBA set and had this to say about the trade that the Warriors reportedly tried to exact for him at the trade deadline.
It didn't go far at all. I actually heard about it when everybody else heard about it. Obviously, Charles been in the league, Kenny been in the league, Shaq been in the league, and sometimes there's conversations happen behind closed doors that you don't even know about. And until, I guess, if it's real or not, then they'll bring it to you. But it never even got to me. So, I heard it when the reports dropped as well.
So what do you make of that? I can't imagine he learned of it just.
I can't either. I don't know.
When Rich Paul calls him, like, hey, guess what? Guess who I just got a call from?
Look,
Joe Lacob. Of the well, I saw this 415 number, so I picked it up. Really? Is that the way it went?
LeBron has been through his intermediaries. He's made it pretty clear he wants to be a Laker. Didn't want to get traded anywhere before the trade deadline. Rich Paul came out and said that publicly. But when this deal was first reported, or the prospect of this deal, my first reaction was it makes a lot of sense, right? Because if you're the Lakers, you would probably be able to get your hands on Jonathan Kuminga. And Jonathan Kuminga, to me, looks like a star. In the next couple of years, I think we'll be talking about Jonathan Kuminga as an all-star. So if you're the Lakers, you get an expiring contract, maybe it's Chris Paul, and you get a young player and possibly another draft pick to start to build your team again around Anthony Davis. And for LeBron, I don't know if LeBron is the penicillin to cure what's wrong with Golden State, but if you have a team with LeBron, Steph, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson, super six man now. Mm-hmm. If you have that type of team, that's pretty. No matter where you finish in the playoff standings, you're going to be a tough team to beat in the playoffs. So when that trade was first floated, it made some sense, but it's pretty clear LeBron doesn't want to leave Los Angeles, at least not right now.
Does your reporting all confirm or that this was Draymond's idea? Draymond's like, hey, let's lob in a call.
I think
Joe.
Draymond, from what I've been able to gather, Draymond had the starter pistol, right? He was the one that kind of sort of first floated this into the universe, and it kind of filtered down through everybody else from there. Look, there were serious discussions from the Golden State side because look where they are right now. They're sitting there in that play-in mix, and nothing we've seen over the first 2/3 of the season suggests that their defensive problems are going to be resolved, that they're going to be able to find quality scoring when Steph Curry is off the floor. I loved what I saw from Klay Thompson coming off the bench. Can he continue that? I don't know. Let's see it over more than just a couple of games. But they need an injection of something. And the only player I could see them surrendering Jonathan Kuminga for, because the Warriors do have to start thinking about life beyond Steph, life beyond Draymond, life beyond their big three. The only guy I could see them surrendering Kuminga for is LeBron, because that would keep that window open 2, maybe 3 more years of potentially winning a championship.
Yeah, so that makes sense for the Warriors. Then why did LeBron say no? Why would he shoot that down unless he wants to go through his farewell tour or stick with the Lakers? That's what it makes sense. It makes sense for a couple. It makes sense lifestyle-wise for starters, right? He likes showing up at USC to watch his son play basketball. He likes doing that. His youngest son in high school in the LA area, his family pretty well entrenched in Los Angeles. And going to Los Angeles back in 2018 was as much a personal decision for LeBron as a professional decision. He was doing it in part because he wanted that lifestyle. He wanted to do things in Hollywood with his entertainment company and all those things. The basketball side of it, though, goes back to what we just said. The Lakers this summer can make a big move. They can build a Warriors-type team or better if they make the right deal. If they get Trae Young, and you're talking Trae Young, AD, and LeBron James, along with Austin Reeves and some other guys they have filling out that rotation, probably better than what the Warriors have with Steph and Draymond. Probably. And who knows what happens with Klay at the end of the year. So I can see it from a personal level, why he'd say no. And fast forwarding to next year, I can see from a professional level why it made sense. Chris Mannix and I were having a chat, gents, while we were in commercial break about moving the NBA trade deadline as well.
Yeah, I just thought it was poor planning to have the trade deadline on the Thursday before the Super Bowl, because every sports talk show is talking about the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And unless you have a seismic event like we were talking about a Kevin Durant trade while the Super Bowl is in Phoenix, the Super Bowl is always going to consume the news cycles. My suggestion is to have the trade deadline the Thursday before All-Star, because not only do you give it its own news cycle, but by having it on a day where there are no games for a week, you eliminate kind of the goofiness that happens after a big trade where some teams are so undermanned they're playing 7 or 8 guys. Right. You've got guys hurrying to take physicals so they can get back into the rotation. You give your players a full week to get set, get a couple of practices. I think that will improve the quality of the play, which I know is something that's on the NBA's radar.
Yeah, and all the shows are already setting up shop in the All-Star town. They can do all their reaction shows as a sort of a promotion for here we are in the NBA city. Yeah. Interesting.
I mean, the NBA is always beholden.
The All-Star city.
They're always beholden to the NFL in this sense. Like, the fact that the All-Star game takes place 2/3 of the way through the season is already ridiculous. You might as well.
Well, wait till the NFL one day adds one more game, and the Super Bowl is actually NBA All-Star weekend.
They're already consuming Christmas, Rich. They're already...
Well, I don't think that next year's different.
But not years
Christmas
to come.
is in the middle of the week.
Right, but then the year after that, and the year after that, it's not a great...
Yeah, Christmas triple header this year. Well, at least it wasn't Mahomes playing. Well, wait a minute. Or the Ravens versus Niners. Wait a minute. Back on the Rich Eisen Show, Chris Mannix is here.
Meanwhile, you've got great players playing on Christmas Day in the NFL, and I think the story of the NBA Christmas was how many guys were sitting out with injury. So it's...
I know.
It's not great.
So you spent time with the Bucks this week. What is your impression of the Doc Rivers coached, I guess, retooled, for the lack of a better phrase, Bucks? What do you got for me?
Yeah, I think of the storylines over this unofficial second half of the season, I think Milwaukee ranks right up there as the most interesting, because this is a team with championship talent, right? You've got Giannis, you've got Lillard, you've got some good guys, Chris Middleton when he gets back healthy. You've got a big three in Milwaukee. But for whatever reason, it has not worked up until this point. They were 30-13 under Adrian Griffin, but they fired him because they thought their defense was just not going to get much better. Doc Rivers comes in, and the defense did improve over those 10 games that he coached. They're about 12th in the NBA in defensive efficiency, but they were 3-7, so the results just weren't there. It's going to be fascinating to see if Giannis and Lillard and Middleton and this group of players can get on the same page, because this team has a very tight championship window. What's funny about the All-Star game, Giannis and Damian Lillard were the two oldest players on the Eastern Conference roster. They're older guys in the case of Dame in his early 30s, Giannis in his late 20s, Chris Middleton in his 30s as well. There is a very tight window for this team to win a championship. And if they can't get it together this year, who knows what happens in the offseason.
So what is Doc bringing to the equation, do you think, here?
I think Doc is what he's trying to do, and I had a long conversation with him earlier in the week, is he's trying to simplify things. What he saw from afar was a team that was presenting its players offensively and defensively with too many options. Too many options defensively, too many schemes defensively. Offensively, not going to their bread and butter enough. One thing Doc said to me was, we need to run a lot of pick and roll for Dame and Giannis. We've got one of the best shooters in NBA history. We've got one of the most dynamic players in NBA history. We've got to run pick and roll for them all day long. Their very first practice, all they did was run pick and roll for Damian Lillard and Doc. So we've got to get back to that. Defensively, they've got to get back to their defensive identity, which is Giannis and Brook Lopez protecting the rim, and their guards on the perimeter showing more effort, fighting over screens, just being an aggressive team. One thing he said was, look, when you play Denver and you play Miami, they don't try anything special. They're just really good at what they do, and they dare you to be better. He said, we've got to get back to being really good at what we do and daring the teams that we play that beat us.
Do you get the sense that they were buying it? What he's selling?
I think they're buying it, because I do think there was some confusion within the locker room about how they were playing, some disagreement between players and the coaching staff about how they were playing. I mean, for a couple of examples, Malik Beasley, who's one of the best shooters in the NBA, part of the three-point contest. There were times he was handling the ball a little bit too much. Doc Rivers said to him, you know what? You're not a ball handler anymore. You just be you. You be a shooter. Damian Lillard would say he was confused or at least according to Doc Rivers, would say he was confused about when he was bringing the ball up. He said, look, you're Damian Lillard. You bring the ball up all the time. You're our point guard. You're our star. So it's a word that I heard a lot during my week in Milwaukee. Simplify, simplify, simplify. Just making everything as basic as they can and being the very best at it.
Is it as simple as this is the Nuggets world anyway, though?
I don't know. It might be Boston's world, frankly. I mean, like, look, the Nuggets beat the Celtics in Boston. They're the team to beat until someone knocks them off.
Right.
I'm just really impressed with Boston's Big Six. Like, their top 6 guys are elite. The biggest question the Celtics have in the second half is, can they keep Kristaps Porzingis healthy? Like, he's been relatively healthy most of the season, but he's had a variety of different bumps and bruises. He has been a real key to what they've done on both ends of the floor. He's a perfect floor spacer offensively. Defensively, he's become a real shot contester at the rim. If he can stay healthy, my prediction is they roll through the Eastern Conference, and then we see what happens whoever they play in the West. I think the West is going to be a street fight from start to finish.
So tell me about your fight that you're calling on.
Orlando, Florida, which is the new home of boxing, for at least for Puerto Rican fighters. Edgar Berlanga, super middleweight, undefeated. He's fighting Patrick McGrory. This is a fight. The broader picture of this fight is that if Edgar Berlanga looks great, he's got a shot to fight Canelo Alvarez. And everybody in boxing, from 160 pounds to 175 pounds, wants to fight Canelo Alvarez. Edgar Berlanga has been disappointing over the last couple of years in his fights. He was a guy that had 16 straight first-round knockouts. He hasn't had a knockout since then. He's facing a guy that's going to be right in front of him. If he looks great, he's going to put himself right in the mix to fight Canelo Alvarez as early as May of this year.
So what's your
I think he's going to look great. I think he's going to have a big night. He's fighting a Northern Ireland fighter who's tough, who's going to be there in front of him. But if Edgar Berlanga is on his A game, if he's throwing combinations, if he's letting his hands go, I think he had the ability to have an explosive knockout. And that's going to be big for his career.
And that's on DAZN this coming weekend.
Saturday night, live on DAZN, yeah.
Okay. And you're there.
I'll be there.
Fantastic. In the minute I have left here, so who can surprise? Cleveland, Knicks. Would you call the Clippers a surprise since they've had the best record since December 1st?
Clippers are really good.
They are.
Names, teams you mentioned. Cleveland, I have to see it in the playoffs. I haven't. Last year was such a disappointment. The Knicks, so banged up right now, and there are still questions about, can Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle as your top 2 beat an elite team with Giannis and Lillard as their top 2, with Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum as their top 2.
Don't forget Precious now. Come on now.
I love the deals the Knicks made. Like, they got great depth.
They did make some really good
but
moves.
Tom Thibodeau plays like 6 guys. So, what does it matter who 7, 8, and 9 are on the back of your bench? So, to me, it always comes down to whether Brunson and Randle can be as good in the playoffs as they've been in the regular season. The Clippers, though, man, they are going to be really tough. Like I said, it's Denver's world until somebody knocks them off. But Kawhi Leonard's playing like an MVP. Paul George is an all-star. Zubac, when he's in there, is a terrific big man. Russell Westbrook has bought in. James Harden has bought in. They are playing with the kind of chemistry we haven't seen the Clippers play with in a long time. They're playing with the kind of health that we haven't seen the Clippers play with in a long time. If they are healthy going into the playoffs, your best bet is probably a Nuggets-Clippers final in the postseason.
There you go there, TJ. There's your Clipper update for you.
Yeah, from your lips to God's ears.
There you go.
Great conference finals matchup.
And the minute I have left, Doc said that a couple other teams reached out to him.
He said that. He said that at the press conference, too, when he got... I don't know what that was. I don't know what that was.
Who would be reaching out to him and say, why don't you drop the mic? And he said the Bucks are the only one who calls him to drop the mic.
I saw all the outrage over Doc Rivers... How we left ESPN. ESPN was shocked that Doc Rivers left. He was interviewing for other jobs before he took the ESPN job. Doc Rivers went from the Celtics, where he was traded, remember, to the Clippers. This, like, a minute and a half after he got fired by the Clippers, he was on a plane to Philadelphia. The idea that Doc Rivers was not going to be back in coaching in 2 years, if you believe that in the ESPN upper ranks. I got a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you because Doc Rivers is a coach first and foremost, and was always going to get back into coaching.
I wasn't surprised to hear at all that he was taking this Bucks job.
But some people apparently were. I never got.
Do you want to coach Lillard and Giannis, Doc, and get back coaching?
Honestly, Rich,
yes.
If it wasn't, he probably only would have jumped now for that job. But if like the Detroit Pistons job came open next summer, I think he probably would have taken that too. Like he's a coach. He loves
Mannix.
to coach.
Chris, thanks for coming on here.
You got it.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.